All right, we're getting things started. It is Sunday. I know that the Super Bowl is on today, so it's a busy day for a lot of folks, but I appreciate everyone tuning in for the Hashgraph Enthusiast News and Rumors show. I've got my coffee here, and yeah, that's how dedicated I am to this time slot for the show. I'm doing it during the Super Bowl. So we got a we've had an interesting week. I'll say that. And I think that, when we look at HBAR, when we look at Hedera, when we you kind of look at what's been happening, just respond to a message here. It's happening live, folks. Um, Really, like this previous, 7 days has been kind of nuts. And I'd even say when we look at the last 24, 48 hours, um, it's been kind of crazy to see HBAR, what it's been doing in contrast to the rest of the market. I've seen a lot of people talking about, oh, are we, decoupling or, what could be causing this? Because generally HBAR follows Bitcoin, as most other, you know, cryptos do. And HBAR kind of, acted on its own a little bit. So there's quite a bit to unpack this week. So the other thing too is like, we're live on Twitter Spaces with another week in Hashgraph. Let's take a quick look at what we're talking about today. So what we've got is obviously top story, Dell joining the governing council. We're also going to be speaking with Citadel Wallet later in the show, which I'm excited about. They're launching a hardware wallet specifically designed for Hedera, Hashgraph, the good stuff. We've also got some interesting follow-up to something I talked about last week in regard to Mastercard, Australia, all those different types of things. We got a new partnership announcement out of Dovu. We got a cool new video from Upside Coop. We hear from Neuron for the first time in a while. For anyone new to Hedera, Neuron is one of those OG use cases that we haven't heard from in a bit, so it's kind of nice. We've got a bit of roadmap action on the official Hedera roadmap. We had the mainnet. My goodness, the mainnet was upgraded. We got some news regarding Google and some other stuff in the governing council meeting minutes. Geez, what else we got? We got we the other thing too is, if folks are following the Coinbase story in the SEC, I'll touch on that kind of stuff briefly because it's important. And the network itself has been making some interesting moves, not talking just about the price of HBAR or just particular things happening. We're actually talking about actual network metrics. So that'll be really interesting. Hedera posted a meme. We are hearing for the first time, I think actually literally the first time from the Creators Galaxy protocol. And what else? We got some Atma.io news. We've got, let me see here. Also a Shopify breadcrumb, which I was really interested to see. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's going down. And if you need to catch up on the previous week's news, head over to itsbrandond.com/hbar where you'll find the previous episodes. And yeah, the show this week, 2 down, 1 to go, obviously referring to, the governing council members, right? If we recall late last year, I think, Shane, CEO of the HBAR Foundation, mentioned that there were 3 new governing council members coming that had already been approved by the membership committee within the governing council. And he did say in a recent interview, maybe last week, yeah, it was last week, that yeah, Aberdeen was number 1 of the 3. Dell was number 2. So there's 1 to go, right? And of course, there's 30 potential governing council members in the pipeline, but we're talking about the 3, this trifecta, if you will, that have already been approved by the membership committee within the governing council. So that's really interesting to keep in mind. And I think what's on the top of my mind as we head into the week is kind of like, again, we're through a month and a half of 2023, right? And you've got a quarter of a year, right, which is 3 months. So we're almost halfway through the first quarter of 2023. And there was all sorts of things regarding, 80 over 80 use cases coming to the network, all of these different things. And so far, I mean, you could probably cherry pick something here or there that's fallen by the wayside or something, but when you really look at it holistically, when you look at the network, when you look at the community, heck, when you look at the price of HBAR, generally, things are going good. I mean, are we happy with the progress? I mean, I'd say I am, but there's always different areas to improve. There's a couple we'll touch on today, but overall, I'm feeling pretty good. And it's funny, like there's a big debate right now regarding kind of the price of HBAR, which we'll get to. But basically, it's kind of like, is this a situation where you know we will have a strong move up, see a correction back down to kind of like that 5 cent area, or retesting that 6 cent support that we established, or you know, is it actually the case that new money is coming into the Hedera ecosystem, specifically committee money, right? We talked previously about those boots on the ground at Davos, um, you know, learning about Hedera, meeting all of these different folks in the ecosystem. Actually, recently, Max Walker Williams did an interview. Folks that don't know, Max is like a community member, has done YouTube, or as he calls them, the YouTubes interviews, which are fantastic. He did one recently with Zenobia from Swirlds, who's the head of marketing PR. And Zenobia said something interesting. This isn't a direct quote, but she said something to the effect of, um, when we were at Davos at Hedera House, there was the CEO of a major company that looked at the wall, of that circle of governing council members, right? That are a part of these companies like Google and IBM and Boeing and Avery Dennison and all these folks, now Dell, that govern the network. And that executive was looking at the wall and he said, we should be up there. Um, and it definitely feels like there's more stuff to be coming out of Davos. And obviously, people were there that make important decisions, and those boots on the ground are coming back. Could that be all those buy orders that we see on the books for HBAR? I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But with that, good evening from Ottawa, Canada, everyone. My name is Brandon Davenport, and I'm a developer, artist, and creative agency owner at Dirksen and Davenport Incorporated. And like all of you, I'm a Hashgraph enthusiast. It is Sunday, February 12th, and there's a lot to talk about. And welcome to Hashgraph News and Rumors, episode 64, 2 down, 1 to go. This is a weekly show that covers the top stories, covering everything related to Hedera, HBAR, everything in between. Broadcast live on Twitter Spaces every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and made available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, every Monday. Get all the info you need about the show and listen to past episodes at itsbrandond.com/hbar. If you're listening live, check out the Twitter thread pinned to the top of the Spaces, which I will do now, which I usually do at the beginning. I got a whole setup now. Now that it's on, I had to rewrite everything. The thing that I said at the beginning of the show, I had to realign everything now with the show on all these podcast platforms and stuff. I'm using a different mic. Everything's crazy. I spent all day kind of like reworking everything. So bear with me here, folks. Also, I got a bit of a dry throat. It's been dry. Like it's winter here in Ottawa. It's pretty dry. So I got my coffee, which probably isn't good for a dry throat, to be honest. So if you see the, pin threads at the top of the Spaces, take a look, take a deeper dive into each story. Also, everybody listening, take a moment now to share the Spaces, to let your friends know you're listening. The more, the merrier. You can click the little comment button at the bottom right of the Spaces to ask a question or share something interesting that listeners might like to know, and I'll talk about it. As I mentioned, today's guest is Andy from Citadel Wallet, aka HBAR to the moon. I'll bring them up shortly after we get over our main stories here. Um, Also, this is a reminder to join the Hashgraph enthusiast Twitter community, a great way for Hashgraph newbies and early adopters to connect, team up, share knowledge and insights. The link to join that is in the thread as well. And the show continues to grow from hundreds of listeners to thousands, and that's because of the fact that you guys take time out of every day to listen to it. I mean, I scroll down and I'm like, geez, these people could be watching the Super Bowl. You're crazy. But if you're interested in becoming a supporter of the show, please consider making an HBAR donation. It helps me continually add value to the Hashgraph community and keeps the show ad-free. You can send a donation to enthusiast.hbar using your Hedera wallet, brought to you by listeners like you. So with that, I'm going to take another sip of my coffee. We're going to take a look at some stuff real quick. Metrica, what's going on the network here? What's all these numbers about? What does all these things mean? Well, folks, it looks like we're going to reach 4 billion transactions on the Hedera network tomorrow. I mean, I'm in Ottawa again, so it might be a different day depending on what time zone you're in. But in the Eastern time zone here on the East Coast of Canada, 4 billion transactions will happen in about, 20 hours maybe. We're running at a rate of about 50 million transactions a day. The mainnet is currently at 3,956,000,000 transactions. We're chooching away at 600 TPS. It feels good. Is 4 billion worth celebrating? I don't know. Is Hedera going to tweet out a celebration for 4 billion? We're going to be doing one of these every month. We're going to be doing one of these every week at some point. So we really have to rethink what milestones we're celebrating because it's happening so fast. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing a maximum. Let me go to the last week here. Over the last week, we saw 330 million transactions. Average was 550 per second, and the maximum was 2,700 per second. The consensus time has remained pretty much the same, just flat at 5 seconds, not too shabby. We've got 1.76 million total accounts created now, which is pretty interesting. And let me see here. Yeah, we got a bunch of other stuff, but it's happening. Stuff's popping off. Like if you look back at the end of 2022, it was a completely different world. It feels like we're in a completely different world. Also, Hedera on CoinMarketCap, we're now at number 28. Friday, we were at number 30. Then we moved up to 29 before I went to bed. We hit 10 cents while I was sleeping. And then when I woke up, we were at 28 on CoinMarketCap. So that's very cool as well. And everything's red. Everything's red. Over the last 7 days, Ethereum, red, BNB, red, Cardano, red, 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 HBAR, green. What does it mean? I don't know. This doesn't usually happen. Bitcoin, red. We're not following the game. We're not playing the game. There was also a huge arbitrage opportunity of 10% on Coinbase as well. So lots of wacky price action with HBAR. And if we look at the charts, I mean, guys, I'm not going to talk a ton about the charts. We have too much to get into today. I have too much to do. But obviously things are looking very, very cool. I'll call it. We did see, that 6 cent support kind of flipped a little bit, you could argue. We went up, on near the end of January or 20th of January. We rode up to that, 8 cents, right? Then we came back on the 24th, tested 6 cents, rode back up, came back, tested 6 cents again on the last day of January, the 31st, went up, and kind of we've been seeing kind of a ride up. All the way up to last night, hitting just about 10 cents. You could argue that, depending on the exchange you're looking at. And now we're back down at 8.5 cents. And there's really not too much you can predict here. There's not a ton for us to go off of. I mean, generally, when we're looking at the HBAR charts historically, it does what Bitcoin does. That's what most of these, quote unquote, altcoins do. And we're not doing that right now. So I'd really, I have no clue what's going on. But again, what I will say, in regards to the conversation I mentioned at the top of the show, I think that people are interested into where this investment could be coming from. Obviously, people are purchasing HBAR consistently. And um, to me, I did hear a lot of chatter after Davos, you know, of, logically boots on the ground at Davos, going back to, all the relevant committees and pitching HBAR and Hedera and all of the interesting things that they saw and people that they met. And obviously those committees take time, but 1 week passes, 2 week passes, 3 week pass. And is this, are these committees coming to consensus, opening some positions? Are these investors, looking to do things? I really don't know how else to explain it. Not financial advice. Saucer Swap Analytics is going to tell us what's going on with all these wacky and wonderful HTS assets, that is crypto coins minted right to the layer one of Hedera. And I'll be honest, over the last 24 hours, it's not looking so hot. We got Sauce down 7.5%. We've got Head Starter down 5%. We've got, let me see here. We've got Lucky Token down 17.5%. Galaxy down 3.5%. LCX down 7%. Stater down 8.5%. Dovu up 1%. Very cool. Jam up 18%. HBAR Suite up 1.5 or down 1.5%. So obviously it's not all doom and gloom. That's probably just a healthy correction from, again, some wacky price action that we saw over the last 48 hours. But worth keeping an eye on. For the first time in a long time, my eye's back on the price. And not for the purposes of trying to figure out what's going to happen, just because it's interesting, to say the least. So that's what's happening. And community shout out real quick before we dive into our first stories, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to chat about Dell. Dude, you're getting a Dell. And then I'm going to bring up HBAR to the moon to talk about Citadel Wallet. I'm really curious. But also, too, just real quick, community shout out to Genfinity and King Solomon, who are definitely key members of the Hedera community. They're doing a Hashentines spaces. Well, they did over the weekend. They had two, one on Saturday and one today. They did 250,000 HBAR worth of prizes for the community across 30 projects. Heard from a bunch of them, and it was super cool. And those initiatives are huge. We also saw the Hedera Discord get revamped. We saw a bunch of stuff happen. Dead Pixels Mint happened. What else? Bunch of stuff. I mean, tons of things happening in the community. And the best thing to do right now, again, with things going so crazy, is keep up, look for ways to stay in touch with community members that are doing things that you're interested in. Right? That's what you got to do. Dell, wow, Steve Todd, my man. So off the top, obviously this has been hashed over quite a bit. This isn't a revelation. It happened earlier this week on the 7th. I woke up, new governing council member. Crazy. And it's funny because when I look at Dell and I look at what they do, on the surface, a lot of people look at, their computer mouse at the office and they're like, oh, it's a Dell and they got a Dell tower and a Dell monitor and, Dell makes computers, right? But also Dell acquired, I believe it was EMC. Yeah. Yeah, EMC. Which basically is now like a major component of Dell, right? So EMC is a information security, virtualization analytics, cloud computing, and blah, 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 all those different crazy things. And Dell bought those guys and it positioned them as a completely different company, right? Dell builds a lot of the plumbing of the internet. They're deeply focused on edge computing, blockchain type stuff, all these different kinds of things, and a lot of things that I wasn't really aware of. I mean, Dell isn't really like a brand that's talked about a lot in the Hedera community before they became a governing council member. It wasn't really top of mind for folks for a governing council seat. But one thing I will say about this governing council announcement is it happened very differently than previous governing council announcements. In the past, a governing council member would be added, and an announcement would go out to the Hedera Telegram, and then it would go to Twitter, and there might be some press releases, but it was a little slow to the take, right? And that's, sometimes the case with some governing council member announcements. And a reminder, it's been really slow with these governing council additions, right? The priorities have changed. That reasoning we've talked about at length on these spaces. But Dell was interesting. It was kind of like a bit of a PR freight train. It was like Dell got announced, interviews went up, CoinDesk article up, another article up, a press release up. It hit a lot heavier than I thought it would. And one of the things that I really found a lot of value in was an interview that Steve Todd did, who is the VP of Data Innovation at Dell Technologies, which operates under the Office of the CTO at Dell. Did an interview with Zenobia from Squirrels for the Gossip About Gossip podcast, and basically that was great. Like you could say maybe an hour after the official announcement, that interview went up. So we had an interview with a representative from that new governing council member talking about why they joined the governing council, what they're working on, all these different types of things. And one thing in particular that they talked about that I found interesting was data provenance for edge computing. So Dell's really big in the edge computing space. Edge computing is just basically stripping away some gunk out of cloud computing, making things faster and closer to the surface. But the issue is when you have these types of networks and the types of networks that Dell manages, you want to be able to know where data was manufactured. Do you have the original data? Has it been modified? All of these different types of things. And these use cases operate really quickly at high transaction volumes across all different industries, right? And when you look at Dell's clientele and partners, it's pretty wide ranging. And with this particular use case, what Dell is interested in is basically looking at the Hedera network with this particular use case in mind, how they can basically leverage Hedera services like HCS to immutably record um, when specific data was created, so that way everyone involved would be able to know if they have the correct data or the data from a point of origin. And as they continue working on that and other different types of things, what they want to do is they want to open source and make these different discoveries public, so that way other companies can onboard and hit Hedera way easier. And they do seem like a really highly engaged governing council member. I think they have been in meeting minutes in the past. Um, they're what they're working on, the mentality, just the tone I got from Steve Todd in the interview. Um, I like to say I'm a good judge of these kinds of things, and for me, watching it, I got the sense that they were really really interested in this kind of stuff. They're excited to set up a node. One interesting tidbit as well is I believe the original or existing specs for Hedera Node specifically highlight Dell hardware. So there's no way around it. I mean, one thing that disappointed me with this announcement was how it was received by folks outside of the circle. Um, Obviously, Dell isn't a sexy addition to the governing council, right? And also, too, there's a problem in the crypto space and the Web3 space where certain networks and use cases and platforms and products will partner with um, big companies, but sometimes it turns out that they're not actually real full-fledged partnerships, right? It turns out that you can't go to Starbucks and buy a coffee and then say you're partnered with Starbucks, right? And when we look at this news of Dell joining the Hedera Governing Council through the lens of somebody who covers this space more broadly, there was a journalist on CoinDesk that was providing some commentary on this announcement with some other folks, and that was his take. right? He said, this is just another blockchain slapping some names as validators. And, of course, maybe this individual hasn't done his research and looked into what exactly the governing council is and their capacity and how they work and all these different types of things. But that's the reality, is it's going to take a lot of time for the idea of what the governing council is and governance on Hedera to sink in more broadly. Also, another interesting piece of this story, before we move on, I'll just bring up HBAR to the moon now as I continue down and wind up this news of the governing council, is Shane, CEO of the HBAR Foundation, tweeted this, which I found interesting that I just wanted to pick out. He said, quote, "We're particularly excited to work with Dell to develop dApps for mission-critical environments like edge computing. By making their findings public, Dell will pave the way for collaborative learning, enabling other high-profile enterprises to enter the industry with confidence." So really, this is what the purpose of the governing council is, right? A collaborative body of Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies and universities and all these different types of things, to collaborate and figure out how all this stuff works and create a pathway for other enterprises and organizations to adopt these kinds of technologies. And there's just something about this interview with Steve Todd for the Gossip About Gossip podcast that I just found really compelling. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, go check it out. It's like the Hedera. You can probably just search Hedera Gossip About Gossip podcast. You'll find it. I think it might be the latest episode. Zenobia is the interviewer. It's fantastic. It has a bunch of insights. It's nice and concise. It's like 20 minutes. Check it out. It is well worth it. So, we're going to talk about wallets, specifically hardware wallets. And it's an interesting time to talk about wallets on Hedera because obviously we've got, multiple, we'll call them hot wallets, right? Software wallets like Hashpack and Blade Wallet and Walla Wallet and Kabila Wallet and all the different wallets. And we also have hardware wallets, right? That are used on other networks like Ledger and Tezos that support HBAR. But the problem is that from previous discussions I had, and also having the CTO of Hashpack, Tyler, on as a guest previous episodes, when you look at blockchain and Hashgraph, they're two really different technologies, and that can also factor into the adoption of some of these deeper network features on some of these other hardware wallets. So we're going to talk about Citadel Wallet, and I've got Andy up here. So really, this is what's going on. So today I'm speaking with Andy Kulikin from Los Angeles, founder and CEO of Citadel Wallet. Andy's background includes over 6 years of experience in embedded systems development for highly critical, secure, and reliable industrial, military, and avionic applications. You may also know him as HBAR to the Moon on Twitter, one of the, I'd say, original Hashgraph influencers that was a first follow for many starting their Hedera journey, including myself. I was like, HBAR to the Moon? Yeah, sure, I'll give you a follow. And according to the official website, Citadel Wallet is developed from the ground up with Hedera's network architecture and technology in mind. It is perfectly built to support Hedera's native, it is purposely built to support Hedera's native cryptocurrency HBAR and all other services unique to the DLT, such as native tokens, scheduled transactions, HCS, and more. The wallet is meant for everyday users, projects, and enterprises. And today we're going to learn a little more about Andy and his plans for Citadel Wallet. So, Andy, it's so awesome to have you on the show. I've been keeping up with the news about Citadel Wallet. What you're doing looks really awesome. So, how are you doing? What have you been up to other than building a hardware wallet?
Hey Brandon, how are you? It's really great to be here. Thanks for having me today and giving an opportunity to talk about the project that I've been building. But like you said, I'm first and foremost a community member. I'm a huge fan of Hedera and an HBARbarian, and I'm just excited to see. First of all, past week was just so exciting. There were so many things happening in Hedera ecosystem, really hard to keep up, but exciting at the same time. And for people who have been around for a long time, for us, it was probably, we could see this already coming after a few years following the project and knowing and following all the breadcrumbs and knowing what's about to come. For newcomers, there might be a lot of questions, and I'm really happy that you have this show, this episode, this spaces where you really dive into all of the news that comes out in this ecosystem and try to break it down and make it understandable for the newcomers, because Hedera is really very different from anything else in this crypto industry. And there is a need sometimes to go a further in explaining what does news mean. And like you said, the Dell news for us is huge, and it's huge for the internet just in general, for Web 2, Web 3, but might not seem the most exciting news for an outsider thinking Dell is just making computers. Why is it important? Or why is it important for Hedera Network? What kind of value it's going to bring to Hedera Network? But I've been following all the news. I've been diving deep and trying to also, from Twitter side of things, break it down for everyday listeners and supporters as much as possible, so they understand what the repercussions of this news are going to be in the future. Myself, I've been very passionate about the network, so I always wanted to build something on the network. So I've been building this hardware wallet, also having the background in hardware development for mission critical and secure applications that are much more complex and heavy on the requirement side than a hardware wallet that I'm building right now. But it just seemed like the reasonable next step for me to bring, first of all, a device to the community that seems to be very important at this stage, especially with the native staking that was just released on the network, with all the different types of services, NFT market taking off, DeFi market taking off on Hedera. There's going to be a lot of value in people's accounts. And if those accounts are not safe and secure, people might lose a lot of their assets. Unfortunately, those types of events have happened many times in the past. And there is still a lot of education to be done as well on how to protect your keys securely, not just through hardware wallets, but in general. There is some important steps that people need to learn and take. Even with software wallets, you will be able to protect your keys and be safe if you follow those steps. But yeah, if you want, I can dive into some of the news that have come out and then talk about Citadel Wallet, just to give my opinion about some of those things, what they mean for Hedera. Or if you want me to dive into talking about Citadel Wallet, I can do that as well.
So we've got a lot of news to cover, and I'm super anxious to learn more about what you're doing with Citadel Wallet. So I want to dive right into that. But first, a lot of folks know you. I mean, you've got like over 30,000 followers on Twitter. You've been in Hedera for a long time, and your updates are great. It's an awesome way for people to kind of figure out like what's going on, what's happening in the moment. But tell us a little bit more about your background, Andy, and like how did you discover, Hedera, or even earlier, like how did you discover Swirlds and Hashgraph? What was that journey like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I similarly to a lot of people, I started to get involved with the crypto industry around 2017, when that crypto bubble was going on. Around that time, Bitcoin was flying. It shoot all the way up to 20,000 from like 3,000 within a few months. It was crazy. There was a lot of attention on crypto industry, but at the same time, a lot of speculation and hype. And at the time, it was the industry was so new. There were no NFTs, no DeFi, none of that. People were just interested in crypto assets. There, some of these new networks were coming out at the time, promising new things, new advancements in blockchain technology, new types of applications that are going to come. And at the time, I also got involved, but I was looking for the application and use cases and utility side of things because for some reason, naturally, I just gravitate towards utility and how much value these networks are going to bring to people rather than what the price of the cryptocurrency is going to be. So I just started to dive into uh, all of those networks, researching, looking into them and what they're promising and what they're actually capable of, and quickly realized that blockchain technology is not really the technology that is able to deliver on the promises that they're making. And a lot of those projects, when I would go on their website, they would just focus on their crypto price. They might have some white paper that was copied from Ethereum or Bitcoin, but I didn't really see anything serious about those projects. They seemed very immature to me. But for some reason, because there was the bull market and the hype, they were taking off. And at that time, luckily, I learned about Hedera. Actually, it wasn't Hedera at that time; it was Swirls. I learned about it by accident. Started looking into it more. I found some videos on YouTube with Dr. Lyman Barrett having talking about Hashgraph consensus algorithm and how revolutionary that technology is. And at the time, they were not even mentioning the public network. It was supposed to be a licensed private service that they provide to enterprises and big companies to build their solutions on. But I kept following, and I heard some rumors that public network is coming. So right from that point, I was just a huge fan of the project, and I wanted to see where this goes because the possibilities and the potential of the network seemed unlimited to me, at least, right from that point. And then when they started releasing more information about the public network, I just created this account, HBAR to the Moon account, because I knew for the type of the project that Hedera is, which is more enterprise focused and large organization focused, which to some people in crypto industry means something negative. That to me actually means that they're building something that is going to meet the highest quality and performance standards available in the industry. And if they're building that network for enterprise grade level and also making it available to public applications and startups to build on, right from the get-go, startups have enterprise-grade security performance characteristics, and they can have the confidence that whatever they build on this platform is going to um, have long-term, is going to live long-term and benefit a lot of its users. It's going to be scalable. They don't have to worry about frictions that the layer one creates, like so many other layer ones for applications have been building on these networks. That's how my journey started, and I have been just tweeting about it, talking about it nonstop, getting the word out. I knew Hedera is going to make it. I knew this network is going to take over the world and become the trust layer of the internet. And I knew it's going to take time, and that's why I patiently just spread the word, and at the same time thought about what else I can bring, how else I can bring value to the network rather than just talk about it.
I love that. I think that's huge. I think a lot of people, had that trajectory is they learned about Hashgraph and become an enthusiast and talk about it and eventually go, I I want to do something really tangible. I want to actually, build something. And I mean, at my desk right here, I have one of your coins that's one of my cherished collectibles. But moving on to the wallet and hardware wallets, I figured you'd be a really great person to ask this question for anyone in the community, maybe that's just using a hot wallet, right? Like a hash pack, or someone maybe on another network using MetaMask or something like that. Maybe you could tell people kind of like, how does a hardware wallet work for crypto and why are they important and different from one of these software wallets or browser-based wallets?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hardware wallet is actually a companion device to software wallets. It doesn't really exist on its own. Whenever you want to use a hardware wallet device, which is basically just a transaction signer, secure transaction signer device that protects your private keys. So the hardware device is primarily just holding your private keys securely to make sure that it is tamper-proof and nobody can access the wallet and take your keys away. But at the same time, from the software and application perspective, you will need some kind of application to connect the hardware wallet device to then receive the messages that need to be signed, sign them, return back to that application, which then in its case can submit to the network. So the Citadel hardware wallet won't really exist in isolation. It's not going to be a standalone thing that you use. You will be pairing it with software wallets from the ecosystem and using it in combination with those software wallets. So from the user standpoint, it's actually I've heard this question before. I'm really happy that you brought it up. Some people are confused, saying, "Hey, why would I use Citadel wallet if I am using Hashpack? Why would I move from Hashpack to another wallet?" Because I also understand it's people are getting used to one software wallet. They like the wallet, especially Hashpack wallet is one of my favorite wallets in the ecosystem, and I am personally using the wallet on a daily basis. I wouldn't want to move from Hashback to another wallet. So the goal of Citadel Wallet is not to be an isolated wallet, but to be a companion to software wallets like Hashback. So when the user gets the hardware wallet, they don't have to go through installing a new software wallet, trying to figure out how to use that software wallet, new user interface, new ways of interacting with the device. You will be still using the software wallets that you love and you've been using, and those software wallets already connect to all the dApps and applications that have been built on Hedera. You just need to go the extra step of just pairing the hardware wallet, which is the Citadel wallet, to the software wallet, similar to what you were doing with your ledger. And now, instead of signing those transactions directly from Hashpack, every time you request to sign a transaction from Hashpack, it will send the transaction down to the Citadel wallet, where now user has control over looking at what is being signed and approve that transaction, physically pressing the button and then signing and returning that message back to the Hashpack, which then submits to the network. So that's the basic concept behind hardware wallets, and it's going to be a really easy and seamless process to utilize, integrating with the very familiar and favorite wallets that you already have.
Right on, I dig that. So that's a great description of what hardware wallets are, right? They work with your existing wallet, like Hashpack, and they
Mhm.
just keep your keys secure so your keys aren't floating around on whatever other device you're using that is connected to a network or the internet or something like that. And I mean, the breakdown of the Citadel wallet hardware wise from the website is um, an EAL6 plus secure element and secure microprocessor, which is an ARM dual M33 with Trust Zone, a rechargeable 200 milliamp battery, encrypted Bluetooth 5.2. You also have NFC, which is interesting. We'll ask you about later. You've got a 240 by 240 pixel color LCD touchscreen. It's got two buttons too. I love buttons. A round design, stainless steel frame with some plastic. But I mean, that's great. It seems like an awesome hardware wallet. But I mean, stuff when we look at the world right now with, chip shortages and all these different types of things, what's your experience right now, you know, building a hardware wallet with all these other juggernauts out there like Ledger and Tezos? And can you provide insight in kind of like how one of these are going to be made, or if you've started making them already?
Yeah, sure. Another great question. And whenever you're building a hardware device or an electronic device, you have to think about the supply chain aspect of things, not just the supply chain, finding the right manufacturers, making sure that they meet with all the quality requirements that you have for the device. And for Citadel Wallet itself, actually, with my background, I do have a lot of experience dealing with supply chain issues on a daily basis. And the hardware wallet that I'm developing, it's way simpler than what I have built before, where I had to deal with 1,000 different components, had to manage and make sure that we have all those components beforehand, making those production ready devices and systems and delivering to the customer. From the hardware wallet perspective, it is a much simpler. From the hardware perspective, it is a much simpler device. It has just few main components like the secure element and the microprocessor. Everything else is very easy to procure and buy off the shelf. And for those few important chips on the device, we need to be very proactive and order those components way before we have started actually building the wallets and delivering it to the market. So on that end, we've been doing a lot of work, making sure directly talking to the manufacturers of those chips, looking at the lead times and the vendors that we can partner with to procure these components on time, reliably, knowing how many we're getting when, and when we'll be able to deliver these wallets to customers. There is challenges. I wouldn't say there are no challenges, but being proactive and also me having all of that experience already with the working in the industry for so many years, we've got that under control. For the second question you asked if we have wallets already, we do have the wallet prototypes, and right now a few of them are actually sitting on my desk. I do want to keep. I don't want to release any pictures yet of the wallets. We have the electronic boards. We've been testing them, even signing some I haven't said this anywhere yet. We've been already signing transactions with the wallets, testing the prototypes. So we're in a very advanced stage of development. These wallets are a month or 2 months away from being assembled into final looking wallets. And the only thing left to do at that point will be to just finalize, finish all of the software and firmware development. Right now, we probably have developed 30 to 40% of the firmware, but we're following 6 to 8 months. We'll finish those up, make sure that we do security audits with third-party vendors, make sure that we meet the security standards. But besides that, we've been putting a lot of effort on the security side of things. And as you can tell, this is a security-focused device, and security is number one priority of ours. We have a great team of software and firmware developers. We'll have some announcements coming on that side of things that are building the software of the wallet. And we also are working with a security expert consultant who has built banking payment systems, has built smart cards for banks, and knows all the security critical things associated with those types of critical systems and applications. And I'm really happy about all the team that we've got together to build the firmware. And with my knowledge, I have built really secure hardware from the hardware standpoint. And the mechanical, I just wanted for it to feel and look and feel like a very premium device. So far in blockchain industry, the hardware wallets have been very cheap looking and not really premium, not really enjoyable to use, like looking like a USB stick, for example, with a small screen, very hard to interact with. And from my own personal experience of having frustrations using these devices, I was like, when I build a wallet, it has to meet certain standards existing in the industry already. When you have devices like iPhone and Samsung's smartphones, you cannot build a security device that looks like a USB stick. There has to be an advancement there too. And those are all the things we've been working on.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned, you're developing firmware and different software elements of the wallet, of course. And I noticed you're working with Launchbadge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Launchbadge also develops some of the things for Hedera, like um, certain software elements required from Ledger and other different things like that. So you're also working with Launchbadge on aspects of Citadel Wallet as well?
So the Launchpad, initially we started working with Launchpad, but for different reasons, I had moved on to working with another software team, which I just mentioned. We will have some announcements coming up. But Launchpad has an amazing team. They have built amazing applications on Hedera, and I'm still in very good relationships with them. But the software team that I'm working with right now to build the firmware for the wallet is different, and they are also from the community, and people know them. We just haven't made any announcements on that end, and that will be coming very soon. But again, the team I'm working with right now has a lot of experience with Hedera. Everybody knows them. They have been building applications, important critical infrastructure applications on the network, and I'm excited to share the news about that very very soon.
I'm already trying to think of who it could be. I know you probably can't tell us yet, but that's interesting. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Very interesting. So one of the elements of the wallet that's really interesting to me is the NFC stuff, right? The near field communication stuff, which basically means that you can hold the wallet, from what I understand, you could hold the wallet physically within 4 centimeters of another object that's NFC enabled and have the wallet perform some kind of action. So obviously, my ledger doesn't have that. I can't really rack my brain to think of other hardware wallets that have that really. So what's the thinking behind, NFC in a hardware wallet, a hardware crypto wallet? What are the use cases like? What's your thinking behind that?
Yeah. NFC is one of the features that I wanted to implement on this hardware wallet right from the beginning. That's why, from the hardware standpoint, we do have all of the necessary designs and architectures put in place for to enable the NFC whenever we're ready. The initial version of the hardware wallet is not going to support the NFC yet because we think the NFC is not that much needed in the industry at the moment. But like you said, NFC is a short distance communication protocol that you just it operates between it can operate between the cell phone, which has NFT and NFC host capabilities, and it can communicate with something like Citadel Wallet when you can just hold it on the back of the phone, quickly communicate with it, and sign the transaction. It's going to be very convenient and easy to use. The only thing is it's a short distance communication, and NFCs are used a lot in payments. One of my goals for Citadel Wallet in the long-term future is to enable the NFC payment option so you could use the hardware wallet itself not only for signing transactions directly on Hedera network for NFTs, native staking HBAR transfers, but also USDC stablecoin is going to be one of the uh, most used assets on Hedera network. Hedera is going to become a payment network similar to Visa or Mastercard, and USDC is going to be the stablecoin currency being transferred on Hedera network. So in the future, I can imagine stores, physical locations, merchants accepting USDC payments as well um, on Hedera. And when those kinds of use cases are enabled, we can quickly enable the NFC functionality on the Citadel wallet as well. So you can use it as a credit card. You just go tap it, make the payment of your USDC and buy whatever you're buying. But that's more of a long-term goal. I'm also really excited about this NFC functionality. And like you said, not a lot of hardware wallets have this feature built into it. And primary reason is because their hardware is not capable of supporting NFC off the bat. They have to make a lot of changes to their hardware. They have to change their electronics because right now a lot of these hardware wallets are using, although they're using secure elements, but the microcontrollers, which are the bridge with the external world, these are very generic components that they're using. Our microprocessor is the cutting edge. It just came to market last few years, and it is filled with all kinds of different security features and communication features, including NFC.
Are
And I'm
you
really,
for this? Are you referring specifically to that that ARM Dual M33?
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So ARM is the architecture. M33 core is the architecture, but there is multiple different manufacturers that take the ARM core architecture and build microprocessors based on that. Now, some manufacturers might build the microprocessor with certain set of features, and others might make one with more security focused, add security features in there, and also add other interfaces and communication options. The one we have selected is filled with all kinds of different features that are needed for hardware wallet specifically. And I was really excited to find that kind of a secure IoT device focused microprocessor, which enhances the security of this wallet beyond what we had expected.
Right on. I dig that. So now moving on to kind of the other side of things. So when we look at other hardware wallets like Ledger, they like they have years of track record under their belt. I think the biggest challenge for Citadel Wallet will be entering the space without a track record like that. What would you say to somebody hesitant to switch to Citadel Wallet from, let's say, a Ledger or Tezos device, because maybe they have trust with that other product, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, how do you think about that challenge? Because I can definitely see that coming up, and I'm curious to hear your thinking about that.
Yeah, that question comes up a lot. I mean, when Ledger was starting, they didn't have a track record either, right? So they had to start from somewhere. And if I wasn't up to the challenge, I would probably just give up on the project. Uh, with my background, I mean, from outside, it might look like uh, just a guy who's following Hedera is building a hardware wallet. How secure is that wallet going to be? But knowing myself and the background and the experience that I have and what I'm able to bring to the table, having that security focused background, I think what we're building is way more secure than Ledger, and I have really dived into what Ledger has built. There's two different aspects to security, like I mentioned before. There's the hardware side of things, which we have hardware components that are way more secure than what Ledger has on their hardware wallet. From the software side of things, you of course need to develop a very secure firmware, so it eliminates any chance of hackers getting into the wallet through software attacks, and there tens of different types of software attacks that are possible when the wallet is in the user's hands. And then there is also types of attacks possible when the wallet gets into the hands of the hacker. Then they have more time and ability to open the device and perform all kinds of different power glitching and other different types of attacks, even lasers, to be able to crack the device.
Did you say lasers?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Some of this hack. I mean, we right now internally we have a document which is like about 30 pages long, listing all of the different types of attacks that have been performed on different on this hardware wallets, or not just hardware wallets, all kinds of different systems and payment focused devices, because hardware wallet is new to crypto industry, but to banks and uh, for example companies like Mastercard and Visa, they have been dealing with secure devices all the time, edge devices, point of sale devices that need to be very highly secure to interact with their private networks. So these are not new kind of devices. They're new to crypto industry. And the security expert that I was mentioning we're working with, he has a lot of experience about these types of attacks, and the architecture that we have created to make this wallet as secure as possible. We are going to meet and exceed people's expectations.
Right on. I dig it. I dig the confidence. And you're right. I mean, you have to start from somewhere. And this is the way to do it. So, and and just reading up on your experience, and I'd also encourage people to Andy did a great interview, or I guess presentation or pitch, a couple months ago for the HBAR Foundation Investors Pitch Series. So go watch that. It's a great watch if you want to kind of dive in a little more into what Citadel Wallet is focused on. But I have to ask as well. This is an HBAR specific, a Hedera specific wallet. Oh, I think we lost Andy for a second there. There we go. Do I have you, Andy? I think we lost you for a second there. That's okay. Don't worry, it's okay. The what I was going to ask you is, I was just pitching. I was just telling people about your investors pitch that you did with the HBAR Foundation, that they should go watch that. But the other question I have for you that's obvious is, I mean, of course, this is a Hedera specific wallet. Is your intention to support other networks besides Hedera down the road?
So me personally, I'm a huge believer of Hedera, and everything I do is Hedera focused. Hedera is the highest priority for Citadel Wallet. And initially, we're definitely going to support everything Hedera focus, all the Hedera services, everything that you've been doing on Hedera, you should be able to handle through the Citadel hardware wallet. If you asked me personally if I want to support other networks, I would probably say no, because I personally think that there's nothing like Hedera out there, and I want to build a device that people enjoy using. And if the device is going to be used with a network that is slow, expensive, all of those and unreliable, that's going to directly affect the user's experience and lower the idea of about the device itself from the user perspective. But I don't want to make that decision of what other networks we can support on this wallet in the future. That's why I have come up with kind of a way. It's not a new way; it's a Web3 way of making decisions, which you bring the community members to participate in that kind of a decision-making process. And the NFT project that I've been building on Citadel Wallet, those NFTs will come with voting powers. So people who hold those NFTs in the future will be able to propose what other networks they would like to support, bring support to Citadel Wallet, and the community who holds those NFTs will be able to vote on that proposal. And if the community wants to add some other networks, a lot of people from the community love Hedera and support Hedera, but they also support other networks. And if the majority wants to make that decision to add support for other networks, we'll implement other networks as well in the kind of farther future. But to me personally, there is nothing like Hedera out there, and that's going to be the main priority always.
Right on. A Hashgraph enthusiast, if I ever heard one. I dig it. So just one or two more questions before I let you go here. So you mentioned in the past, I watched a couple interviews, enterprise grade Citadel wallets. Would this be a different version of the product? Or you've mentioned quite a few times, like even on the website too, like an enterprise type wallet. Little curious to hear more about that. I know that's probably further down your roadmap, but curious.
Yeah, definitely further down the road. But because we're building such a secure and multifunctional wallet specifically focused on Hedera, and we know Hedera has a governing council with a lot of different companies that might be interested in this type of a device. We do have plans in the future to have white label versions of the wallet, and maybe if the enterprise needs this kinds of a device for their internal key management, or whatever their reason might be, they could have their own brand named Citadel Wallet with added features. Maybe they need some kind of extra features for their specific applications, and we can develop those for those customers and have their brand printed on the wallet. That will be white label product for that company or organization itself. But that has been the goal right from the beginning, and that's why we want to set the standard so high right from the beginning. Because if we have the plan and the goal to reach out to enterprises in the future, we cannot build a device that is mediocre or average. It's just limited to signing crypto transfers. We have to think about the long-term features and benefits that it could bring to so many other industries, not just Web3 crypto industry. And that's what we've been working on. And that's the goal in the long term.
Right on. I'm going to ask the question that's on everyone's mind now, as we wrap things up. How much is the Citadel wallet going to be, and when will I be able to get one?
Yeah, so in terms of timelines, we are, like I said, in a couple of months, we'll have the wallet in hand, fully assembled, looking like the final wallet with initial set of features already programmed into it. We'll have some demos and pictures available for the community to check it out. We'll sign transactions. We'll have pre-orders coming up very soon in March when the wallet is available, so we can share with the community, demo it to the community. We'll have some pre-orders in March through NFTs. That's the NFT project that I've been building on Citadel Wallet as well. So those NFTs will come with a lot of privileges, including people who own those NFTs will get the wallet when it's available in the market. Price-wise, we'll have the white paper released very soon, which will include the price. I can't say anything on the price yet, but it's very competitive with the market. We have looked at all the different hardware wallets available, all the features supported, and the pricing, and have come up with a fair price for our wallet, which has much more functionalities and features built into it. And then go-to-market plan is, I would say, 6 to 8 months after the pre-orders. So that will happen probably September, October timeline. That's the goal right now, and we're working really hard to meet those deadlines.
Well, Andy, that's awesome. I would tell people to follow you, but I'm pretty sure everyone listening is already following you. But I'll say before I let you go here, is there any other cool stuff you wanted to tell folks listening to the show, or anything people should check out?
Related to Citadel Wallet, I would say check out also our Discord, because we have a lot of information about the NFT project as well that's being built on the Citadel Wallet company, the real business. And I think it's going to be a very interesting example for a lot of traditional companies and Web2 companies, how to utilize NFTs to bring in early supporters of the startups or projects to participate in that project, to help the project grow over time, but also over time benefit from being part of it right from the beginning. We have big plans for, because it's Hedera focused, I want to make sure that all of the community members who've been around for a long time do decide to become part of the project. And NFTs are going to be a great way to bring them in and give them also a lot of utility to NFTs, which is built on an actual business, which my goal is to make it a business that is going to sell wallets to millions of users in the future. That's where Hedera is headed. That's what we've been seeing with all of the news coming out, with all the use cases. That's the goal. We're not shooting for small goals. That's the long-term goal. And if I would love to for the early supporters to be hardcore OG barbarians who really understand this network and understand this value.
I dig it. That's awesome. Well, Andy, thank you for stopping by the show. I'm going to move you back down to the listeners as I rip through the rest of the news for the week. But really, really appreciate you taking some time to stop by.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. It was a pleasure to be on your show. You've been doing a great job, and thanks for pushing Hedera from your with your own way of uh, doing the spaces and going through the news, breaking it down. I think it's very valuable for everyone, and I also appreciate as a community member what you've been doing. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. That's awesome. Well, Citadel Wallet coming this fall with you're going to get some NFTs, some pre-sale actions pretty soon. I dig it. I mean, I've got a ledger. It doesn't do a whole lot. I want my NFTs to be safe. So, Citadel Wallet to the rescue, it seems. I dig it. I dig it. So yeah, what else is going on? I mean, we've got a lot of just it was so funny when I started these spaces. It wasn't Twitter Spaces when I started this show. Um, I actually started Hashgraph Enthusiasts News and Rumors on Clubhouse before Twitter Spaces existed as a live show. I love doing it live because cool things happen. Very often you'll be listening to the show and someone interesting will be listening and I'll bring them up and catch up with them. I did that a couple weeks ago with John from Bank Social. But and if John tunes in, sorry, I can't bring you up, John. I have too much to talk about. But it's funny because years and years and years before I came across it or anything like that, in 2008 to 2012, I actually was running like a 13 editor technology publication, and I love doing the news. I love doing live shows. I love doing all these things, and I just haven't been able to for it feels like 10 years. So now with this show, for the first time in 10 years, I'm doing the news again. And I love it. And I'm doing it about something that I really enjoy, that I'm passionate about, that I'm an enthusiast of, you could say. So I really appreciate it. And I mean, every time I do these Twitter spaces now, it's like hundreds of people listening to them, which blows my mind. And I mean, I've had a couple episodes that are like a couple thousand people. It's crazy. Lots of great guests. And again, I got requested over and over and over again to bring, like, we do these live on Twitter spaces, which is great. Not a ton of people in reality are on Twitter or Twitter Spaces. I mean, most folks listen to these types of shows on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube is a big one. So that was a big request. So this episode, the recording is going to be available on all of those major platforms, which I'm excited about, and it, keeps going along. So I really appreciate everyone listening, supporting all these awesome guests that I've had, including Andy. So it's awesome. But what also happened on the 7th when Dell became a governing council member of Hedera? Let's go back to the 7th, because the 7th was an insane day. I think that there's something about, the 7th that just kicked off a bunch of stuff. So obviously, Dell became a governing council member. Also, there was a little announcement from PixFi. Yeah, PixFi. And they put out a teaser that basically states they're going to be bringing all of your NFTs into one place. If you go to the PixFi website, oh, it doesn't say anything. I think it's broken. PixFi, if you're listening, I want to talk about what you're doing, but there's a circle. Luckily, your tweet has some information, or a tweet from your profile page has some information. Let's see. Yeah, all your favorite NFTs in one place. So they've got Algorand, Ethereum, Phantom, Hedera, Solana, all those different types of things. And what could this be? I mean, is this a marketplace? Is this an aggregator? Is this a wallet? I don't know what it could be, but Pixfy_official on Twitter is putting out some teaser, pixfy.io, Pixfi. No idea what it is. Seems interesting. Check it out. Wanted to highlight it. It happened on the 7th and was, you know, forgotten with the Dell announcement. So I wanted to give it a fighting shot. Also, too, on the 7th, right? The day that Dell was added to the governing council, we also had a bunch of interesting developments surrounding Mastercard and Hedera. And when you see those two words beside each other, those two companies beside each other, I feel like my heart's going to beat out of my chest. And I'm like, what is going on? Because in a Telegram group, I think it might have been the HBAR Foundation Telegram group, Rob Allen said the following message, and I'll just read it verbatim because you got to know this whole story. He says, in response to a tweet, or sorry, a message in the Telegram that was kind of referring to supply chain stuff and in Australia and different things. Rob Allen says, quote, MasterCard have decided to sunset their provenance, in brackets, private permissioned blockchain product. And FSCO came to us to explore ways of moving off of it being, MasterCard's provenance product, and onto Hedera. They love the sustainability focus of Hedera, and the API-driven approach using HCS and HTS made the transition very easy. FSCO were the biggest user of Provenance, but there are a number of other businesses on it, all of which have now been given an example of how to move to a new platform with minimal disruption. It has also boosted our relationship with Mastercard. All in all, another awesome Aussie Hedera success story. What's going on in Australia? Lots of HBAR stuff apparently. And so FSCO. What's FSCO? What is that? So Fresh Supply Co. Is basically, let me go on their website here because this is really interesting. So they do kind of like, how Avery Dennison, we talk about Atma.io doing all the supply chain stuff and everything like that. These folks are kind of focused on food, right? And they were using Mastercard's Provenance system to um, do specific types of things, track different types of purchase orders, how those different ingredients get combined into different food products, all these different types of things. It does seem like a perfect use case for HCS on Hedera, similar to Avery Dennison at Atma.io. But obviously, they're having a great time on Mastercard's Provenance system until that system was discontinued. So David, CEO of FSCO, responded to my tweet about this, and he says, quote, we will maintain the same Mastercard's payment functionality, but writing the events to Hedera. There will be more to share very soon, significantly more payments and finance capability coming, shared at the right time very soon. So this guy, David, has been all over Twitter now, talking about these different things that he's doing. He was in a recent HBAR Foundation space that I was speaking in as well, and he really elaborated much more on what this was about. And essentially, right now, um, certain aspects of this platform that he's a CEO of, like I said, well, you'll have purchase orders, you'll have ingredients combined, you'll have food products being moved around, and all those different pieces of functionality, including MasterCard payments, were obviously done on the MasterCard Provenance system. Well, those are going to have to be done somewhere else. So their system and I don't know what exactly you'd call it, their suite of tools and software that can process MasterCard payments and supply an endpoint to a DLT, they're going to plug that into Hedera. So basically, we will start seeing MasterCard payments written to the Hedera network through this use case and potentially other folks using these platforms. And this is really, really interesting um, because we, of course, have seen MasterCard breadcrumbs for a long time. right? There's a part of me that doesn't even want to say it, right? We've got two down, one to go, right? We had three governing council members. We had Aberdeen and Dell. I'm not even going to say it. Not even going to say it. Not going to jinx it. But it's interesting. Tom Johnson on Twitter also says um, Atma uses Mastercard payments or Mastercard Provenance for food supply tracking. They only use Hedera for carbon tracking and are still cranking 500 TPS. Mastercard Provenance is sunsetting, and FSC is the biggest user of Mastercard Provenance, is moving to Hedera. Prediction. This is the prediction. Atma expands use of Hedera to include food supply tracking, adding another huge step of TPS. Could that happen, right? Could Atma IO leverage this new technology that FSCO is going to be bringing, right? These integrations of Mastercard, being able to write Mastercard payments to the network, and doing these different types of things for the food supply tracking. I don't know. It's really interesting stuff, and this has been a developing story since last week. And we continue to watch it. And the CEO of FSCO is David, right? He is at D_INDERIAS on Twitter. Follow him. He's very active. He's saying a lot of interesting things and responding to people. He's online and plugged in. And it seems like he's one of these folks that have been building quite a bit and is now embracing the Hedera community. And it's no joke, right? This is a guy who has a platform where, $800,000 purchase orders are put in through something, and that's sent as a record to blockchain. So these things are going to be happening on Hedera. They seem very certain and very excited. Also, Rob from the HBAR Foundation also seems very excited. And this just further puts another spotlight on Australia. Oh, at the bottom of the coffee when you get all those coffee grounds at the bottom? I've been doing pour over coffee. Oh, yuck. I'm gonna switch to my soda water. That's gnarly. I really bunged up that coffee. But yeah, lots of interesting things are happening in Australia in regards to Hedera. We've seen so many different tweets and announcements in regarding payments infrastructure. We talked about a lot of that last week. Go back and listen to that episode. But Australia is a spot to watch, guys. It's a really interesting series of events unfolding there. Also, a very interesting series of events unfolding, and an announcement done on time, which is news within itself. Guys, we have a use case on Hedera that made an announcement of an announcement that happened on time. Uh, Recently, a couple episodes ago, I interviewed on the show CTO of Dovu official Matt. And at that time, on that day of the episode, Dovu tweeted out um, partnership announcement coming first week of February, right? Well, what actually, let me hold them to it. What day did they announce it? On the 7th. So exactly 1 week into February, Dovu announces their partnership with Timeless. So Timeless, Dovu, both carbon offset credit platforms. And what this announcement is announcing the successful integration of the Timeless platform with Dovu's carbon credit platform. This integration will enable customers to purchase fully verified carbon credits directly through the Timeless platform. So this is really big stuff, and this is some more um, very important connective tissue of the ESG vertical in the Hedera ecosystem. And we've been seeing the HBAR Foundation hitting this hard. You could argue that the carbon offset ESG use case vertical is kind of like the tip of the spear for the HBAR Foundation right now. And it's going deep. It really is. And this partnership is good to see. Dovo's been, a use case on Hedera for a very, very, very long time. Uh, Timeless, again, an Australian juggernaut. Australia, folks. Stuff's going down. Down under. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Upside Down, talking about down under, now we're going upside down. Or I guess not upside down anymore. They rebranded to Upside Co-op. It's not DAOs anymore, it's co-ops. DAOs are so 2022. It's old news. Now co-ops are the cool thing. So Upside dot co-op released a cool video, really doing a great job of breaking down something we talked about previously on the show in regards to their platform, which allows a company, or let's say going the other way, a let's take, for example, an NFT project, right? To incorporate, have a corporation and also create a cooperative and issue ownership of their corporation to that cooperative, and in part have the community as part of the cooperative that owns a part of the corporation. So basically, you'd have legal ownership of your project circumventing securities laws. I assume asterisks. This is my area of expertise. Read their white paper. But also watch this little quick video. It does a great job of summarizing what they're working on. I shared it to the Twitter thread, pinned to the top of the spaces along with everything else. Check it out. It's very neat, very cool. Neuron, drones flying through the sky, Internet of Things devices. Is that my toaster? Is that my microwave? We don't know, but maybe we're going to find some stuff out soon. So, Neuron, we've talked about them on the show like a year ago. And what they were working on is a use case involving drones. The issue with drones is there's not a very easy way to track where they are, so your plane doesn't crash into them, or something, something of the like. And what they're doing is, or we're doing, or are doing, we don't quite know yet, is they were leveraging the Hedera network to basically record transactions to the network of where all these particular drones would be, and create less of a fragmented environment when it came to tracking all of these little things flying around. Because if you can accurately do that, then you can basically allow drones to fly around, ensuring that they're not going to crash into each other or into planes or anything like that, and allow them to fly way more autonomously. So Neuron tweets out, quote, also happening on the 7th, right? I just want to highlight again, this was also on the 7th, the day that Dell was added to the governing council. You may have noticed that we have been quiet recently. This is because our team has been flat out building something that we believe is going to cause a big stir in the blockchain space over the next few years. Hardware, check. Software, check. Follow us for updates. Dot, dot, dot. So I'll be following you for updates, Neuron, and we'll hopefully be talking to you soon. Maybe I'll have you on the show. I'm curious to hear what you're working on, if drones are still in, or if you're going to be, doing something with my microwave or my toaster or whatever. So keep me posted. But Neuron, keep an eye out. They're back online. They're back on Twitter tweeting about stuff. So an interesting and maybe I'm not going to say a bummer development, but an important conversation to have. And I'll preface it with this. Um, I was actually on the Hedera community call in their Discord. That I don't know. I guess they're not going to replace the community town halls. I have no idea. But anyways, I was on a call with some of the Hedera team and some other folks and talking about things. And one of the things I mentioned is in years past, especially when we got the HBAR Foundation, we had been and kind of still are living in these two different worlds. On one side, we've got Hedera, HBAR Foundation, Swirlds, the 26 other governing council members, enterprises, government, CBDC, woo, this boardroom world. And then there was this other world, which was, NFTs, DeFi, applications, wallets, community, all these different types of things. And you could safely say, arguably, even until now, a lot of growth on the network, a lot of value on the network was created by folks and entities in that other world, right? The community world, not the enterprise kind of world. And they felt very far apart, right? It definitely felt like the HBAR Foundation and Hedera and Swirlds were kind of a little bit out of touch with what was happening in the other little world. And in the other little world, we didn't really quite know what was going on in the other little world. It was too disconnected. And I did say in that call that it's felt like those two worlds have come closer together especially with that call in the Discord. It does feel to me like, again, some connective tissue is being formed between these two worlds, which is important. But there was a misstep, I'll say, recently regarding something pretty important. And it's kind of, it is part of this theme of the community in some aspects being left out of the dark and becoming a little frustrated. Nick tweets out on Twitter about the roadmap being updated, and community nodes have been delayed until quarter two or quarter three on the new roadmap. And community nodes are really important because um, within the context of a community member, right, or even a prominent community member, talking to people about Hedera, um, a lot of the criticisms of Hedera is, oh, well, your only nodes in the network are run by these giant companies and that's centralized. Obviously, we know that is a kind of a moot point. Hedera is arguably just as or more decentralized than other layer ones out there, including blockchain and Ethereum. There's definitely arguments to be made, the proofs in the pudding, etc. But obviously, it was really great to now be able to say, listen, community nodes are coming, right? It's happening. We could see a community node for a project that we love on Hedera. And we were telling people that. And it was getting people excited and it was helping quell some of those concerns. But without that kind of communication to the community, we look at the roadmap and we go, oh, well, that's no longer the case. Damn, like we kind of have to figure it out a little bit. And I think that, again, these things happen. Doing community nodes is a huge step that needs so much due diligence. I don't think that Hedera's done anything wrong with this, except one thing, right? Um, they're doing everything that they can to do everything by the book, make sure that they keep into account and factor in all of the different crazy things happening with regulations and everybody, all this Wild West craziness happening in the crypto space. But again, that communication, that update, that alert needs to happen, right? Hedera needs to say, "Hey, listen, community, we're going to be doing this. We're not going to be taking input. It's a done deal, but we wanted to let you know. Maybe we'll have a discussion about it. Here's some information as to why we did it." Versus just updating a web page and having people find out. I have to agree that that's a little frustrating, right? When you as a community, and us as a community of Hashgraph enthusiasts really try our best to stay up to date with what's happening and kind of just have an update, a major, major change to the roadmap made like this with really no specific alert to the community. It makes it tough. I get why it's frustrating. And Christian Hasker from Squirrels has a great point. He says, quote, delays are frustrating for sure, but I know the dev team is really focused on paying back some tech debt to ensure it's a good experience for onboarding community nodes. And this step is super important for the ongoing decentralization of the project. And Nick responds, who shared the original message. He says, I hear it and appreciate the response, Christian. I know Hedera is working to make it happen and make it a good experience. I'm glad to hear you echo the importance of community, blah, blah, blah. And Micah from Swirlds responds on Twitter. She's a DeFi girl. She says, we were just talking about this with the Hashgraph DeFi Alliance. I was in that meeting today. We hope to be more vocal and open to discussion in the future. Tune in because next week we'll be hosting a Twitter space to talk about smart contract rent. So I just wanted to highlight this conversation because it is one that continues to happen in Hedera. I do agree that Hedera continues to drop the ball and the HBAR Foundation when it comes to um, keeping in lockstep with the community. I think that the more in sync these two worlds can stay in sync, the faster things are going to be able to move. Um, and on one side, yeah, I do feel in certain aspects they fall short. In the big picture, I think things are going really fantastic. But this is a really important thing that needs to be addressed. But I will say, having been a part of a lot of these conversations, especially when it comes to smart contract rent and stuff like that, there are people at Swirlds the HBAR Foundation, Hedera, that listen, that care, that are advocating for these points of view, that make it up the chain. It's going to have significant impact on how things are done. So uh, I would say tune into Twitter Spaces this week. It looks like they're going to be having a conversation about smart contract rent, and maybe this topic will be brought up too. But I will say, if anyone from the governing council or Swirls or Hedera is listening, um, you know, an email list subscription to alert us of these changes. I, I, I don't check my email. I'm not going to get it. It would be awesome to get more notification or update or heads up about these things in the form of a Twitter space or just a tweet. If Hedera tweeted something out like, uh, we've come to the decision to push back the release of community nodes. Here's a thread of, why we need to do it. All those types of things. It would just be super helpful. All the community wants to know is what's going on and why it's happening, so we can pass on that information to other folks, right? But I will flip it over back now because the Hedera mainnet was upgraded in 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Which is crazy. And when you look at enterprise use cases, they're going to like that. That's needed. You can't have crazy amounts of downtime. I remember Lehman Baird would mention that hopefully in the future, um, Hedera would be a network with, zero downtime across the board. Now, again, that 3 minutes and 9 seconds, the network wasn't like down, right? It was just in maintenance, things flipping over, stuff restarting, but nothing was on pause. The network didn't pause or anything like that. I just mean so like completely seamless, it upgrades without a single hiccup. Lehman's talked about that. We go from an hour to 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Crazy. It's crazy. Let's talk a little bit about some recent governing council meeting minutes. This is something I love about Hedera and the governance. Again, it's boring. Meeting minutes, snooze fest. But you know, what other crypto network regularly publishes meeting minutes that are this kind of in depth with these kinds of organizations? Like these aren't meeting minutes with, this validator and that validator and this dev and that dev. No, these are meeting minutes with Fortune 500s talking about the Hedera network. And shout out to the HBAR Bull for highlighting these and snipping these out. So in one section of the meeting minutes, Lehman Baird mentions, quote, CoinCom, the coin committee, proposed dividing transactions 1/3 to Hedera account, 1/3 to staking rewards account, and 1/3 to node rewards account, right? Obviously talking about, how these different transaction fees would be divided around. Also, too, uh, they also talked about 80% to a Hedera account to fund operational expenses, 10% to a staking rewards account, and 10% to a node rewards account. So conversations continue when it comes to coin economics committee and stuff like that, but those are two interesting points. Also, too, for the technical steering and product committee, another update from Dr. Lehman Baird was um, there's 4 contemplated phases for expanding node hosting. So again, going back to that community node discussion, and this colors that a little bit. Phase 1, their goal is 5 community nodes. Phase 2 is 10 plus community nodes. Phase 3 is 20 plus community nodes. And phase 4 is permissionless nodes. So what they're outlining here is, um, contemplated phases for thresholds of when we should have these permissionless nodes, right? Because community nodes are nodes for trusted entities that aren't necessarily on the governing council, and permissionless nodes are nodes that can be run by anybody. I could run a node. I could run a node. The itsbrandond node. Would you stake to my node? I don't know. Does that sound dirty? I don't know. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Yeah, these are the thresholds that they're proposing. And after, again, it says here, phase 3, once they reach 20 plus community nodes, they may go to permissionless nodes. Good to know. Also, too, the membership committee report from Bill at Swirls and Simon at Magaloo. Bill and Simon shared that MEMCOM's goal for 2023 is to nominate the remaining 11 council members to reach full capacity of 39 council members. So quickly, rewind. What does that mean? So it doesn't mean that we're going to get 11 new council members by the end of the year, but what it does mean is their goal is to nominate 11 council members by the end of 2023, right? So the goal by the end of 2023 is to have the upcoming 11 council members locked and loaded. Obviously, some of those to be announced this year, fingers crossed. But that's the goal for 2023. MEMCOM is focused on objective criteria for industry diversity and will specifically target the energy and healthcare sectors. Last week, we talked about some healthcare partnerships that Hedera has formed, highlighted in a thread by a community member. Go to the previous episode to check that out of Hashgraph News and Rumors. But yeah, healthcare sector. Interesting. Interesting. Fortune 10. Also, too, membership committee. Simon summarized MEMCOM's recent activities as it works to recruit and evaluate prospective members to fill the 11 open council seats. Just kind of wrapping up on those discussions. Obviously, too, back to the Treasury Management and Coin Economics Committee, CoinCom, with Lehman Baird from Swirls and Paolo from UCL. Lehman updated council members on the CoinCom's recent discussions regarding staking. Because staking contributes to the security of the network, CoinCom has analyzed staking rewards in depth. CoinCom has analyzed staking rewards on analogous DLT networks and compared their reward rates to Hedera's current reward rate. CoinCom has also considered likely TPS growth rate, account growth rate, and funding from outside sources to inform its staking recommendations. So, we do see now that CoinCom and Hedera in the governing council are looking at and projecting certain growth with TPS and accounts and funding, all those different types of things. So it's very interesting to see, and they're factoring that into certain decisions when it comes to the tokenomics of Hedera. And another update from TechCom. Since the last council meeting, TechCom has approved the following. Recommendation to the board to remove Hedera mainnet software beta label. This is big. If folks, don't remember, Hedera has been in beta and is still in beta since the public network came to fruition. We're still using a beta product, and there's now recommendation to the board to remove the beta label. Hedera is getting closer to going out of beta, which is exciting. And also, a last point from the recent governing council meeting minutes. Brett McDowell, chair of the board, thanked council member Google for offering to host the Q2 2023 council meeting, which will take place May 19th to 21st at the Google Cloud headquarters in Sunnyvale, California. Let's go. Google, what are you doing? Why does Google want everyone to come over to their house? Are they going to be doing a show and tell? Are they building something that they want all the other governing council members to check out? Are they going to show something cool to their friends? We don't know. We have no idea. But we do know that everyone's going over to Google House for the governing council meeting for Q2. Very cool. Very neat. Okay. One last thing on the governing council. A Reddit post in the Hedera subreddit community from a community member, user Eliminator-N36. Spooky username. They have broken down governing council member attendance rates. So this is really interesting. So basically, they calculated all the past governing council meetings and broke down the percentage at which each governing council member attended those. So let's check the report card. Aberdeen has attended 100% of their governing council meetings. And again, this is the percentage calculated from when they become a governing council member and how many of those meetings did they attend since becoming a governing council member. Avery Dennison, 86%. Boeing, 96%. Chainlink, 50%. DBS, 36%. Dell, 100%. Dentons, 78%. Deutsche Telekom, 36%. DLA Piper, 100%. DLA Piper is an original governing council member. Straight A's across the board. Shout out. EDF, 78%. FIS, 89%. Google, 96%. Wow. IBM, 85%. ITT Madras, 50%. LG Electronics, 71%. LSE, 73%. Magazine Layoza, 100%. Nomura, 82%. ServiceNow, 79%. Shinhan Bank, 94%. Standard Bank, 66%. Swirlds, 100%, of course. Tata Communication, 78%. Ubisoft, 27%. Ubisoft, what are you doing? 27%? You just became a governing council member. Feels like not long ago. Actually, wait, it might have been a while ago. It's been a while. Yeah, get those numbers out, Ubisoft. UCL, 95%. WePro, 14%. Guys, WePro just phoning it in. Zane, 56%. So overall, decent, right? Pretty decent. Good stuff. Gold stars. So Coinbase, SEC, spooky things happening, staking as a service. What's going on? So CEO of Coinbase put out a Twitter thread recently, basically saying he's hearing that the SEC is going to be coming after staking for crypto. And without fail, everybody proceeded to freak the F out. Freak the fuck out. And basically, now that we have more clarity, we understand what this is actually about. So there's actually two types of staking, if we look at it simply. The first kind is just staking, right? You stake your HBAR account, your Hedera account to the network. Staking in a decentralized fashion on the actual DLT, right? Then there's staking as a service, which is where you will go to an exchange like Coinbase or Kraken or any of these folks, and you'll deposit your funds and they will stake those funds on your behalf and give you rewards, kind of acting like a middleman. And I don't know if you have a choice. Like, I assume you have a choice. Personally, if I had stuff sitting on an exchange, it would be great if they just left it there. But staking as a service, cool, earns you money, great, wonderful. So the SEC goes, no, it's not great, it's not wonderful. We're going to shut it down. And obviously, Coinbase is pretty spooked. But is the SEC going to put their foot down on Hedera staking? No, they're not going to do that. They're basically what they're doing is they're looking at these centralized exchanges that may be offering staking as a service and doing a bunch of really weird stuff underneath to generate those rewards and all those different types of things. And that is an interesting thing because obviously over 2022 we saw the a really big failure across the board when it pertained to the centralized world of crypto, right? DeFi and decentralized aspects of crypto relatively unscathed. If there was an issue, it was them being affected by certain things happening with a centralized entity. But these centralized entities like Coinbase definitely continue to come under further scrutiny from the SEC. And you can argue whether it's warranted or not. But obviously, what happened last year definitely, caught the eye of the SEC that's looking for something to do. And, you can argue about, what the SEC should be doing. They definitely seem out of touch. But if it is the case that they're going to be going after these predatory staking as a service or unsustainable staking as a service or non-consensual staking as a service, services from these entities, I can understand that. And if they're not going to be meddling with native layer one decentralized staking and not viewing that as an issue and viewing those mechanisms solely as a mechanism to secure these networks. I can also get hip to that. So we'll see what happens. I don't think there's any cause for alarm, but definitely keep an eye on this story. It's important because just after that dropped, we did see an update regarding Kraken. And I don't think I included it in the Twitter thread here. But anyways, Kraken had to pay fines to the SEC, and they had to shut down their staking as a service platform. So SEC's cracking down. Oh yeah, I did share it in the thread. I shared the actual SEC press release. So they have to pay 30 million to the SEC to settle charges, and they have discontinued their unregistered offer and sale of crypto asset staking as a service platform. So there you go. Keep your eyes out. Be careful. Stay safe. Because I don't know if the SEC will keep you safe, but they will try. They will try. And I'm nervous, but hey, what can we do? We're on Hedera. I think we'll be okay. As I said at the top of the show, Jesus, it's already almost 2 hours. Thank you for staying tuned in, folks. I mean, I'm doing this while the Super Bowl is happening. I don't know why all you guys are tuned in. These are some real Hashgraph enthusiasts. As I said at the top of the show, tomorrow the Hedera network is set to reach 4 billion transactions, and we're rocking like 50 million transactions a day. A day. So that's going to be happening. Also, too, massive breaking news on the 10th. Hedera posted a meme. I haven't really seen something such as this before. I was shocked. I think the entire world of HBAR was rocked to its core. They did the objects and mirror are closer than they appear meme template, with 4 billion transactions quickly approaching. Hedera posting a meme. Big news. That's big, big, big news, folks. We did also hear, as 2023 rolls on, from the Creators Galaxy, specifically Creators Galaxy Protocol. What is that? Well, it's a protocol of open source software for all sorts of different things, including their hash pool service. And they've been very quiet. We've been following the Galaxy story. They should be launching some stuff soon, but this dormant account on Twitter has come alive. The Creators Galaxy Protocol is coming alive. They got some stuff going on. And they're launching some different things like hash pool. They're launching a hash pool explorer. They're launching a key rotation utility because you can rotate your private keys on Hedera. You can give yourself new private keys, which is great. And that update is in the Twitter thread. Go check it out. Fun fact is the actual Creators Galaxy platform uses this protocol. So it's very cool. Also, too, we did see the Atma.io account from Avery Dennison has been topped off with HBAR, which is good to see. That account was initially funded at 2.3 million HBAR, and they whittled it down to 500,000 HBAR. And obviously, this account is used to pay for these transactions, right? These 50 million daily transactions. And they just funded the account with another 725,000 HBAR, bringing it back up to 1.2 million as of February 7th. And of course, this is subsidized currently by the HBAR Foundation, but soon, hopefully, we will be seeing Atma.io and Avery Dennison running under its own steam. But it's good to see. The use case is chooching along. They got their bag packed. They're ready to go. Also, too, we have some more clarity in regards to the community nodes and why they were delayed on the roadmap, because I think it's definitely on a lot of people's minds. So let's talk a little bit about this. Mohsen from Hedera, in response, and I don't know exactly who this is. Let's look up exactly who this is. And maybe Patrick, who tweeted this, said it in the tweet. No, I don't see. Let me see if I can find this person on LinkedIn. Mohsin. Mohsin. What's your last name? No last name. Hedera. So Mohsen is a product leader in data science, yada yada yada. He's at Hedera. Um, so yeah, he's at Hedera, and basically what he says is this: when we sit down for the roadmap planning and what impact we want to deliver, there are non-negotiable priorities such as security, reliability, availability, accuracy, etc. Then we have a goal to make Hedera the best ledger to build on. Here, my mental model is we need to look at functionality, scale, developer user experience, and decentralization. Every bucket is important. So, with finite time and resources, you want to advance against all of these. This may lead to reprioritization, especially given that problems we are trying to solve are complex given the scale and throughputs. On top of that, you have regulatory and policy objectives. These need to align, and sometimes, unfortunately, it takes longer than we had anticipated. Makes sense. There is an assumption that we go from council nodes to thousands of permissionless nodes in a go. We need to work on the enabling components first. Example, tooling to support node operators, dynamic discovery of nodes by SDKs, support of these nodes on mirror nodes, extending staking and economics for these operators, strengthening against malicious node operators, etc. Also, as Lehman shared, increases in nodes do not provide a linear benefit function. Finally, there's a whole legal and regulatory aspect of things. We cannot be callous. The team has been working on this for a couple of quarters, and we expect to start making our works public soon. It would have been awesome to know that before the roadmap was updated, but I appreciate that. That's amazing. And that's just another way the Hedera team's improving. It's in the Discord, and they're communicating with the community. That's important. So, baby steps. I love it. That's great to see. And that was a good follow up to the news and the roadmap update and all that good stuff. Also, 23 hours ago, I just highlighted a tweet from Patches from Turtle Moon Command Center that HBAR passed 10 cents on Coinbase. Coinbase was seeing some wonky price action with HBAR, so not quite sure why, but you know. And also, too, um, this brings us to our last story of the day. And it's something that was posted 8 hours ago that I found very interesting. And I'll read you the headline. Shopify launches comprehensive blockchain suite for merchants. E-commerce giant Shopify, and fun fact, I am in Ottawa, Canada, the Shopify capital of the world. The Shopify headquarters used to be here before they went full remote, but there's a ton of Shopify folks here. E-commerce giant Shopify has launched its new blockchain suite of products for merchants. This development is expected to improve user experience on Web3-based stores hosted on Shopify. In addition, merchants can utilize token gating and leveraging new features on the expanded wallet ecosystem. What is going on at Shopify? Tokenized e-commerce, token gating, wallet ecosystem. What's going on? I want in on that party. That seems exciting. So yeah, Shopify is doing some stuff with Web3. And I was reading through the article, and I was seeing a lot of, Shopify. Here, I'll just read you another quick quote. Shopify has expanded the crypto wallet connect feature by integrating the Ethereum SIWE protocol, sign in with Ethereum as a standard way for ERC 22, yada, 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 ENS domain owners, all those kinds of things. So I was like, very cool, awesome, great. Shopify is doing some Web3 stuff. What about Hedera? Where does Hedera fit on this? Scroll down to the bottom of the article, and the very last sentence, quote, finally, Shopify is exploring new blockchain technologies and developing its solutions with its partnership with Hedera Hashgraph. What does that mean? I have no idea what it means. I haven't seen anything about this. I have no idea even what this website is. Bitcoinist. This was published on Bitcoinist. So this is the first article I've seen about this. This is a story I'm going to be watching closely. And it does appear, according to Bitcoinist, that Shopify is exploring new blockchain technologies and developing its solutions with its partnership with Hedera Hashgraph. Wow. So Shopify, Hedera, all these different types of things. And I mean, all the things we covered today. I mean, we talked about Dell joining the governing council. We talked with Andy from Citadel Wallet, aka HBAR to the Moon, about hardware wallets coming to Hedera. We talked about, you know, Mastercard payments being written to the Hedera network. We talked about Dovu partnerships. We talked about community nodes. We talked about uh, governing council meeting minutes. Google's going to be hosting the next meeting. We talked about Coinbase, the SEC. We talked about memes. We talked about the HBAR price. We talked about all sorts of different things. It's been a crazy week. It's been a big week. We're 1 minute away from 2 hours. And, you know, another week behind us and another week ahead. A huge shout out to everyone listening live on the Twitter Spaces right now, and an extra shout out to everyone listening to the recording on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you may find yourself. If you have a moment, give the show a rating and review on your favorite platform. It helps a lot. And thank you again to Andy, aka HBAR to the Moon from Citadel Wallet, for the awesome interview. Learned a bunch. Lots to think about when it comes to hardware wallets. A new hardware wallet coming in the fall, specifically for Hedera. And, you know, the theme of the show, two down, one to go. I think that really it's like, what is that? You know, what am I talking about? Who's the next governing council member? Who's it going to be? Like, there's so many different predictions out there. We've talked at length about all of these different people it could be. We still also have a Fortune 10 use case to look forward to that Lehman talked about, feels like forever ago. And, you know, there's use cases popping up left and right. HBAR is doing some interesting moves. You know, things feel good, but, you know, it's hard to figure out exactly why it's happening and what exactly is going on. Um, it gives me the same feeling that I had. Let me real quick open up the HBAR charts. The HBAR charts are handy because for me, when I look at the price of HBAR over periods of time, I can almost go back in my mind as to how I felt at specific times. And one particular memory comes to mind for me. It was um, it was March, yeah, March 1st, 2021. And for the first time, I really was like, I have no clue what's happening with this thing because we took a ride from 3 cents up to 12 cents, right? It feels pretty similar to what's happening right now. And we took a ride up to 45 cents, right? And I really did feel like I had no clue what was happening. But of course, as we tapered down and, you know, rode things out, and we look back at the, you know, the spring of 2022 and riding through up until now, we started to see the maturing of Hedera, the community, the HBAR Foundation, Swirlds, um, you know, Manson Lehman left Swirlds, or sorry, left Hedera for Swirlds. All these changes happen, and all these different use cases started propping up. We had the NFT space prop up, we had the DeFi space prop up, we had all these different things come up, and we started to really dive into the minutia of everything, get a little closer to the surface. Things were pretty quiet in the Hedera land, and it was mostly a focus on building and major milestones. And it was very exciting in our little bubble. But in the crypto space, things were kind of down, stagnant, bad things were happening. But you know, I did feel like I had a good idea of what was happening, right? Things were coming out. You were seeing news come out. Very often in these spaces, I'd be talking about kind of this common thread that was happening, and things we could expect. But this week, you know, Dell, boom, out of nowhere, all these other different announcements, crazy stuff, HBAR price, what's going on? I'm starting to get that feeling again where I'm starting to have less of an idea of what's actually happening. And it's exciting. That part of my brain is switching on, that was switched on, you know, back at the, you know, in March of 2021, right? I feel it a little bit. I feel that excitement. I feel that uncertainty. And we're just going to have to keep an eye on stuff. I mean, the consensus in the broader crypto ecosystem is it's a bear market, right? Things are down, everything's red. HBAR is green. It's great. It's fun. Are we going to see a correction? I don't know. You really, I truly feel like I need to really pay attention to what's happening. So, that's what I'll say is, I ended last year saying, take a step back, take a breather, go out and learn some stuff. But with what's been going on, maybe pop open those charts, right? Maybe pay a little closer attention to the news. There's a great resource, Metrica. It's a dashboard where you can monitor activity on the main net. Reminder, Lehman said, what's happening on the test net is going to happen on the main net someday. So, now's the time where I'm feeling a little bit lost, a little bit, I don't really understand what's going on. I'm going to be paying closer attention. I'm going to be spending more time understanding what's happening because I feel that things are going to be happening fast and these spaces are going to continue getting longer. So, I will say that. And, you know, thank you so much for tuning into Hashgraph's News and Rumors, episode 64, two down, one to go. Broadcast live on Twitter Spaces every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and made available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, every Monday. That was a big announcement, too. The podcast is out there. I'm so excited. Get all the info you need about the show and listen to past episodes at itsbrandond.com/hbar. Itsbrandond.com/hbar. Make sure to join the Hashgraph Enthusiast Twitter community to share your insights, ask questions, and invite new friends. If you'd like to become a supporter of the show, feel free to send an HBAR donation to enthusiast.hbar using your Hedera wallet. I really appreciate all you guys tuning in, especially during the Super Bowl. And I'll see you live on Twitter Spaces next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. For everyone listening live now, I'm going to keep the spaces open for a few more moments so you can all follow each other, stay connected. If you see someone you don't recognize, give them a follow. They may be a fellow Hashgraph enthusiast. And if you see somebody you recognize that you do follow, but you haven't talked to them in a bit, hit their profile picture, shoot them a message, say, hey, what's up? What are you working on? What's going on? Let's stay connected. And with that, thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you next Sunday.